In another reel, I spoke briefly about my musical journey and how I ended up becoming a musician, and that it was more focused around engineering, and still is really. I'm not a particularly brilliant musician. I can play well enough. Julie, the other half of Older, her journey is completely different. Her mother trained in piano to grade 8, and if anyone knows what's involved in that, will know that's a pretty high standard. So Julie grew up in a space where her mother was a really good musician. She was also a teacher, and she taught music. And so from an early stage, Julie was taught to sing. It wasn't necessarily to be a soloist, but it was part of school productions, and she was taught the correct way to pitch and find notes and how to sing, basically, from the diaphragm. She was also then exposed in youth group to drums, which was a way of just, living rurally and isolated. It was a way to get involved. And so she can still play reasonably basic but in time patterns on the drums. She was exposed to guitar and can play 3 or 4 chords. And I think she's demonstrated that in another reel. But ultimately, it was all a path for singing, which isn't an instrument, but it is an instrument because it's a vital instrument in a band. It's just we don't call it an instrument, but I regard the voice as an instrument. And so by the age of 16, she was singing at weddings. And that's where her passion came from. It came from being surrounded by music, and her family has a pretty interesting genealogy of music and musicians, and some quite famous and some rather successful that go back through the generations. And I'll mention that in another reel. But when you're looking for an instrument to play as a child, you don't necessarily choose the instrument. You fall into that space. And so many of us are given piano lessons, violin lessons, cello lessons, and some will go on to be very accomplished musicians and find a lifetime of passion in that instrument. But for most people, it puts them off music, I think. It can be a discipline that can destroy any natural interest. But we can all find our path and way into music. It'll just be a very natural path. And certainly now, Julie is a singer. That's her instrument. And she's never progressed in any other instrument, which would have been useful to help write songs. But her vocals are fantastic, and her harmonizing is absolutely brilliant. And so I regard that as a very skilled use of an instrument that I simply wouldn't know where to start. And I think I've left it a bit late in life to learn to sing. So yeah, you'll have your journeys too. And it's really important we're exposed to opportunity, but I don't think we can force kids down a certain route. That's something I'm not too sure about, to be honest.